Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Sandheinrich. I'm a developer here at Wolfram, and I'm going to be talking about creating quizzes with QuestionObject using the question framework. If you've attended Christoph Bachlase's talk an hour ago, or the talk that Danny Finn just finished, hopefully you're somewhat aware. If not, don't worry about it. We can jump right in. Here's my abstract. We don't need to read that now. Let's save some time. All right, so talking about question framework, which can kind of be summarized largely by looking at sort of the input syntax of question object. And the first half of the talk, I'm really focusing on these question interfaces that kind of define what a question object looks like in a notebook. I'm not going to be talking about assessment function much at all, since Christoph covered that exhaustively in his talk. But one thing also to keep in mind is question generators. So this is a function we introduced a couple years ago to generate random instances of a question object. And that's going to come up throughout the talk too. And in the second half of the talk, I'm going to be looking at question notebooks. So we'll see that when we get there. All right, so question interfaces. In version 14.1, we introduced 5 new interfaces. And I want to give a shout out to my colleague, Camila, who did almost all of the development work getting these in. So these interfaces were new in 14.1. And these are kind of the most dynamic, interesting interfaces we have now. So I'm going to take a few minutes to highlight 2 of these: text completion and drag categorize. So here's a simple text completion question where you have a question object. Let me add a little bit of white space here. So you have a question interface that says it's text completion. It basically has a prompt and it has a template. And when you evaluate that, you see that the prompt goes up here and the template goes here. And this backticks is, if you're familiar with string template, that defines a slot in a string template. So it's consistent with other places in the language. And then, you can fill in the answers here and, submit it, and it's nice. So this is a simple way to sort of put the input fields for a question in line with other content. So this is a very simple case. And now I'm going to do a more interesting case where it's a question generator. So let me run that. And so here we have, again, the question interface here has 3 things now. It has the prompt, which is, it's again just text, but I've wrapped it in a style box to sort of make it look a little bit nicer. And then we have this template. And in this case, the template has a string template inside of it. And the string template inside of it is being filled by the random variable. And then this slot outside of it is defining the blank that is being filled in. And then the third thing it has is an interpreter. So now, instead of the answer that is assessed being the raw string that the user provides, that raw string will be passed through a location interpreter, and it'll go, and that's what we fed into this assessment function, which is basically just geo within q of the polygon defined by the location. So here we have our question generator, and I scored about 10% trying these questions easier. I'm not familiar with Lotharingia, so let's I don't know, Prague. That looks vaguely Eastern European. Let's see. Is that? Oh, I'm wrong. Okay. Well, I can keep running this. So this is a question generator, and it'll just keep spitting out questions, and I will know the answers to very few of them. I could guess this one, that Djibouti is in the historical Djibouti. Okay. So that's showing with text completion. We can basically do the same problem with either of the other two of the other new interfaces, question interfaces. So this is select completion. So this is the same thing, but instead you give it a list of values. I don't know. Oh gosh, there's two of them that look French. So I'll just, okay, wrong again. All right, so in this case, and this width is hiding some complexity where I am creating these wrong answers and combining them with the right answer, which is this here, we can open it up for a second. Just, it's not really the, so here's, I'm finding a city within the historical country, and then I'm finding 3 other random cities. And if one of the random cities happens to be within the historical country, it's going to be marked correctly. But, here we're generating the choices for the interface. So, right, I guess that is worth looking at. So there's this additional property in the question interface association called choices. And so in this case, the choices aren't derived from the assessment function. They're specified in the question interface. And that creates this. A third new interface type is drag completion. So this is very similar to text completion and select completion, except this one, all of the available answers are in this pool at the bottom. Oh, I might get this one. I might not though. Oh, wrong again. And this is really, so the important thing that I'm not really highlighting here well between drag completion and select completion is if you have multiple blanks in the template, they all share one pool for a drag completion. Whereas in select completion, each blank has its own pool of possible answers, right? So it's a different interface elements. It's a drop down versus this drag thing. But also the important thing is that all of the potential answers are in a common pool for drag completion, and they're in separate pools for the select completion. All right, so now let's look at drag categorize. This is a fourth of our new interfaces. So again, here's a simple one. So here I have question interface, I say drag categorize, and I just give a prompt. And then both the items that I'm dragging and the categories that I'm trying to fit them into are derived from the assessment function. So I didn't have to put them into the question interface. I could just give this prompt here. And here I have my things. Let's see, this is a lemur. I'm better at primate classification than I am at historical country locations. Oh wait, nope. What did I get wrong here? This seems right. Oh gosh, we might have a bug. Let me try again. Okay, well, I am using the unreleased 14.2, and I should say that the notebook that I've shared here, some of the things are not going to work unless you have 14.2, which is not released yet. So you might have to wait a minute to do some of the things here. All right, so that was supposed to be a simple example. That was easy. I'm not sure why it didn't work, but here's a more interesting example where, again, it's a question generator. If I run this multiple times, each time the chemicals or that we're looking for, or the elements, I guess, that we're looking for and sorting into their families will change, right? So I'm not even going to attempt to get this. I've gotten everyone wrong so far. So I'm not going to continue to embarrass myself. So this, but I guess I will continue to embarrass myself and just not, I don't know where these things go. Argon's a noble gas. I think I know that one. All right, so I got it wrong again, as promised. But this is a nice, simple interface that matches with a lot of types of questions that you might see. Okay, so now I'm going to show next several slides. I'm going to be looking at this question: expand this polynomial. And if you watch Chris's talk an hour ago, you're going to see, that the assessment that we have available for different answers is quite sophisticated and really special, and something you can only really do in Wolfram Language. But I'm not focusing on that. I'm just focusing on all the different interfaces that we could apply to this question. So first one, very simple, is this fill in the blank, where I can fill in, just with integers, and see that the answers here are all integers, nice and easy. All right, so that's like the simplest way to create this question. So now I have the same thing, but now the template is a template object. So instead of just bringing a string template with those backtick slots, I'm actually creating a template object, and that allows me to kind of make the exponent an actual superscript. And I'm saying that the interpreter is an integer. And I use this string form in the prompt so that this sort of gets nice typesetting as well. So with just a little bit of work, I can make sort of make it look nicer, right? All right, so now moving on, I'm changing from text completion to select completion. Basically the same question as before, but now we're doing it as select completion. And you see this is kind of a nice little approach to this math question. And now this is showing what I was discussing earlier about everything sharing a common pool, right? So let's go ahead and get it wrong this time, maybe. X squared, and then this part is right, but overall we're still wrong, right? So this is yet another interface for showing the same math question. And now this is the one place where I'm going to talk about these assessment functions. So this is using arithmetic result and held math expression. So what I'm typing in here is this is a textual input field, right? So, but whatever I type in is going to be interpreted internally as math. So I can do 18x cubed, plus 6ax, and see I have this ax all combined, which wouldn't work if this was an input field, right? It would treat ax as a single symbol, but it is working here because the math expression is interpreting this as a times x, because it thinks that's the more common interpretation. And this is arithmetic result, so I could do things like switch the order of the terms. I could do 6xa maybe. I could put this over here. I could submit that, and that's still right. But some other things like this is going to be treated wrong in arithmetic result, because it considers x times x times x, converting that to x cubed, to be part of the arithmetic that the teacher is probably expecting the student to perform, right? That's what we want to be testing on usually. So that's sort of the line that we have in arithmetic result. Like usually you can reorder terms within addition and multiplication and you're still being treated right. But sort of performing that, converting that multiplication to an exponent is something that isn't treated right. Okay, so here's the same problem, but this time I'm not using interpretation, and now this field is actually it treated as an input field. So if I say 18x, you see it's kind of adding spaces in here differently than it was before, plus 6xa. Now it's going to be wrong because this xa is treated as a symbol, and so I have to put that right. So this is, but what's nice here is the input field is, like a notebook input. So you can see it'll kind of do nice white spacing, and this x cubed is handled. And so you kind of, it looks like math when you're typing it, like it would be typing in any input cell. So there's this trade-off between having a input like input field and no interpretation, or having the text like input field with interpretation, right? So they're both available, and they both have real use cases that you might want to perform with them. And now, just to show, it's the exact same interface actually this time, but I just changed the polynomial result. So we can take the exact same code, just change arithmetic result to polynomial result. And now, actually, I don't remember if I can do things like x times x times x. Let's try it. 6a times x. No, it still doesn't like it. All right. So that's still expected in polynomial result that you get the exponents right. But what I could do is something like this, where it will treat a single distributed numeric coefficient. Oh, am I missing a 3? I'm missing a 3 somewhere. 3. Right. So a single numeric coefficient is still treated as equivalent within polynomial result, and I'm still marked correct, right? Which it would not have been during in arithmetic result. All right. And then lastly, since I haven't shown our 5th interface yet, I'm showing this click locations. And this is just a stupid way to ask a math question. But so here it's saying find the missing values, and it's 18. But this is a useful interface for all sorts of questions where this, you have an image and you want to, maybe you're making a CAPTCHA or something, or you're, picking out items in an image. So this is the last new interface that I haven't shown yet in 14.1. All right. So now that we've seen the new interfaces, I'm going to spend the rest of the talk looking at question notebooks. So this was started to rebuild in 14.1, and in 14.2, it's really improved and is working much better. So we discovered a lot of bugs in 14.1 that we've sort of figured out now. So this, we say create notebook, question notebook, and you get one of these. We had a question notebook before 14.1. And it really didn't allow you to make interesting questions at all. It was very restrictive, but so we've changed it now. So, and the big difference is when you put a question in here, this is not where you define the question, right? Before 14.1, we were trying to define the question in this notebook, but now you hit this edit button and it brings up a secondary notebook, and this is a nice templated GUI for defining a question. You say, what is, 30 times 20 or something. And you say that the answer is a number, and you give the correct answer, and you can give some wrong answers, and then you can say test, and it'll put it down here at the bottom. And this is, trivially simple multiple choice question. I say save and close. It puts it back in this notebook, and then I can keep adding more. But because I'm constrained on time, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to use this internal function that's not documented, but this is a way to pre-populate one of these question notebooks. So I've done that. Let me exit full screen with 4 of the questions that I defined earlier in the presentation. So hopefully these look familiar. And when I push this button, it changes it from this GUI to code. So I could modify the code in here and just work directly with code, and that's fine. But what I want to do is go back to that code, which automatically pops open this editor. And I'm going to show how to turn this question object into a question generator. And I'm going to do that by adding a random variable. So this already has an A. So I'm going to make it an integer between 2 and 7. Why not? And, where should I put the B? Let's put the B over here next to the A. And I'm going to say template selection, which says this B should be treated symbolically. That it should be replaced with the random variables, and I changed that from insert and evaluate to just insert, which means all it's going to do is insert the value of B and format it. It's not going to perform any computation. But then I come down here to my answers, and now this isn't 6 anymore. This is 6 times B, I'm going to select this. I'm going to say template selection. And this one is insert and evaluate. So I'm going to leave that alone because I want it to not just be 6 times the value. I want it to actually perform the multiplication in there. So now let's test this. All right, so now I have my test question here. Let's make sure it's working the way I expect. X cubed, and then this is going to be 24a times x. All right, so that worked. So now I hit save and close, and then I'll take me back to my notebook. And you see, this isn't a question object anymore. It's a question generator, right? So this is a question generator. And every time that a quiz is generated from this notebook, it'll have a unique instance, well, random integer between 2 and 7. So they're not all unique. It'll have a new instance of that question. So let's go ahead and look at what that looks like. I'm going to go to this configuration menu. And don't fall in love with this. I think we might change these menus next version. So this is the way it is for now, but it might change later. So I'm going to tell it where I'm going to say assess in cloud. So I want to show also cloud deployed evaluation. Demo 2024, something like that. I'm going to change this setting. Nope, not 2025 yet. All right. And so now I've got it configured, and I'm going to hit generate. And that's going to take probably 20, 30 seconds, and it's going to put it up in my, it's going to put a lot of things in my cloud account, all in one directory. But that's not really important to you. What it's going to give you is this, what we call this index notebook or this administration notebook. That's all the tools you need to manage this deployed quiz you've created. So I can assessment retrieval code that will show, right? This gives me some code that if I put that here, will in an input cell, that will like show me who's taking the quiz and what scores they've got. But for now, I'm just going to hit open in cloud. And that's going to use it as if I'm a student, not as an administrator. Okay, it opened in my other screen. So what this is doing is it's creating a unique instance of the quiz. So you see, I don't have a question generator anymore up here. I have a unique instance of the question. And if I, so this is, the B was 6 this time. So now I have to know what 6 times 6 is. And since I'm really good at math, I can do it. And I hit submit. And this is a little bit painfully slow. It's something that we're working on improving. So here, it marked it as correct. And what's important to note is even if you're a clever person and you know about like show cell expression, and this is really ugly because this is cell expression, trust me that nowhere in here is the correct answer. The correct answer doesn't appear here at all. All that appears in here is a different cloud object, right? So we have this cloud object and a UUID. So when I submit this answer, it's calling to a different cloud object to perform the assessment in a secure place. So there's no way to cheat here. And the assessment happens in that separate cloud object opaquely to the user and comes back with an assessment result object saying whether the user was correct or incorrect. And I should be able to come back here. Let's see if I do this, do I get, yeah. So Bob took this test and he had 1 correct answer out of 1 question. So this deployment through the public cloud is really a useful way to take this whole ecosystem of automated assessment and interfaces and everything and make it really useful, right? So anybody, you don't need a desktop Mathematica to use cloud or to do these quizzes. There are some limitations on support for interfaces. Right now, the drag categorize interface isn't working yet, but we're working on it. We'll get that working eventually. But basically, the things that work on desktop are going to work on cloud just a little less smoothly sometimes. Right. So that is. Let's see. Did I have more? Oh, right. I want to highlight some applications of this. If you're familiar with CBM, what we call computer-based math, is an entire education philosophy and curriculum and software, and it's using this framework internally. If you saw Danny Finn's talk right before this, the Wheel product is the consulting team's educational software, and it's using this internally. Wolfram Tutor, the next talk after this, called JerryBot, is going to feature the Wolfram Tutor. Stephen also showed it in his keynote. And that's a technology that will very soon include an integration of the question framework. And then further related to that is the OpenStax textbooks talk later. So now I will take questions, and without automated assessment, just normal human meat brain assessment. Let's see. Nothing in the Q&A. I guess I was perfect. Nothing in the chat. Wow. I just didn't leave anything to be questioned. You trust me entirely. All right. I'll give you guys another minute then to ask me anything. If not, then I'm just gonna talk about the Cleveland Guardians beating the Yankees yesterday with all the home runs at the most exciting times. Oh my goodness, it was so exciting. If there's any baseball fans out there, maybe my colleague Joel, who's a Cleveland fan, is listening, and he's excited and wants to chime in. But yeah, I never give a tech conference talk without mentioning baseball once. So I couldn't let it get by. Oh, we have a question. Jason is asking, can LLMs be used in the assessment? Yes. We've actually built in an LLM-based comparison method into the assessment function, but we haven't documented it yet because we want to probably tweak the prompting, and it's not, deterministic, and it's a little funky, but yes. So there's a built-in thing that will call LLM with some defined prompting that's based on, if we go into the prompt repository here, functions, where is it? Question maybe is what it starts with. Question, answer, assess. So this prompt in the prompt repository is actually an undocumented built-in assessment function that you can use. And I'm forgetting the syntax right now, so I don't want to give it there, and this likely to change. But also, assessment function, as Chris showed in his talk, is completely customizable. You can give key. You can do. You can give a pure function here. You can say LLM function and it will. This should be something that returns like true or false, or gives a score, a numeric score. Either one could work. If this gives true or false or gives a numeric score, and you can do that by giving like a whatever they call it, an interpretation or a callback function. I forget what the term is for the second argument of LLM function. You can do that like this, and it will let the robot overlords determine whether you're right or wrong, which they're usually pretty good at. They're very friendly. They give more. They err on the side of marking correct more than incorrect. Is there a tutorial on question notebooks available somewhere? It's brand new, and we're rushing to get this into 14.2, and I guess documentation's unfortunately going to have to come after. So probably look for documentation on question notebooks in probably the following release. Unfortunately, I don't think that the kind of two people working on this are going to be able to get it working and get it a good tutorial written in time for the coming release. Maybe though, maybe, but it will. There will be. Yeah, okay. Well, we are right at noon, and I want to encourage you to go to the Jerrybot talk or any other talk you like. So I'll wrap up here. Thank you.